The other question I've got to ask, and it was asked by so many people that I cannot name them all. There really were so many. Why no Gates of Delirium on this? I think I know the answer, but maybe you could explain why that is.
Let's go with your answer.
Well, my answer is that there's only so much time on a CD, and there's not enough for a double CD. You could have Gates of Delirium on one disc, and that's it. Because I think that's the only song that's missing from the set.
No, you got it completely wrong, John. Of course, we're saving Gates. We're saving Gates to put with To Be Over, to put with Sound Chaser. So we've got a show called Relayer that's got the Relayer album featured in it. That's why
that was the other reason I was going to say. It's more in context, isn't it?
That is. It was out of context without the other two songs because we're about to play them, we thought, and now we're still going to play them, and it'll be a little bit late.
Well, I think everybody played a great part, and everybody commented on how well Jeff played it, because in terms of keyboards, it's a monumental song, isn't it, for Yes?
The keyboard application on Relay is a fascinating study in musicology, really, because Patrick, if you look at all the parts, Patrick was very, very mathematical in the way that he applied the part. Very, very technical, of course. But it's like a sort of algebra on speed, it's like very, very technical, but it's very, very mathematical. And so I was quite fascinated going in depth and looking at all the parts on Relay, that's how he kind of applied it. I mean, there must have been something to do with his, Swiss conservatory or whatever, but it's actually a very, very fascinating experience, going through all those parts and seeing how he put it all together. And I think that, it's a remarkable album. I think that it sort of breaks the mold of quite a lot of other Yes music in terms of the fact that you've got that sort of jazz rock influence. You've got this kind of furious rhythm section, almost angry rhythm section going on. Everyone's flying all over the place, but there's this unity that pulls it all together, and it's got the highs, the lows. You've got Soon, you've got the fury of Sound Chaser, and all of that sort of stuff. So I think it's a remarkable piece of work. I mean, if it was stood next to a sort of classical composition like Stockhausen or something like that, people would go, wow, that's quite amazing. So it is an incredible album.
Yeah, Jeff, thinking back when we recorded Sound Chaser, I believe we actually did it. There was no edits in that song. We played it from top to bottom. Right, Steve?
It kind of sounds like we might have done. God knows how we did, but yeah, we didn't usually play 10-minute songs.
Actually, I've heard of there's some of the rough outtakes of that, and there's no sort. I don't think John's doing many vocals on it. He's sort of lying or something like that, but the substance of the track is still there. And it's absolutely fascinating.
But then Yes are a fascinating band.
I think we all thought it was very fascinating because we got to the end without making a mistake.
I think we're all looking forward, and fingers crossed that the world has changed a little bit to the best for next year, and you guys can go out and play, because I know you guys are actually itching to get out there and do this tour. The live album is a great stopgap, for want of a better expression. And of course, again, as I said to Steve earlier, it ticks a number of boxes, because the tour is in America, the people in the UK and Europe and other parts of the world won't have seen this tour, so they get to hear what it was like. And for the people in America who did see the tour, they've got a nice memento that they can look back on and listen to. And I already know that there's lots of people who were in Las Vegas who saw the show and say the album's brilliant. Steve, I've got some technical questions for you, because over the years, as you know, you've inspired many, many guitarists. And they've got some interesting questions here. One guy wants to know about your Variax guitar. Basically, he's bought two of them himself, but he wants to know how you actually amplify them. Do you directly into the amp, or do they go through any effects?
Well, various, either, both. Sometimes one, sometimes the other. You know, when I'm on stage with that blue one, it's mainly just going through the monitor system, going to the PA, going to the other guys if they want to hear it, and coming to me. You know, so it's not really going through an amp, you know, a guitar amp. That's how I use it most of the time. But, you know, if I'm recording with it, obviously it goes into amps or it goes DI. So really, there's various ways to set it up, you know, and there's various models too. You know, there's the acoustic model, there's the there's the all-round model. You know, there's various different versions. Well, I've got various different versions. Anyway, on to the next question.
Another one, guitar related. Can you remember the first Yes song that you actually played the steel guitar on?
Well, yeah, I think it was A New and I. You know, I don't think I played anything on Yes, you know, steel until A New and I. And really, I wouldn't exactly call that steel playing. I'd call it kind of like slipping and sliding. But basically, I was still learning how to play the damn thing. And I think by the time I got to going for the one, then I really had a good handle on how to make that thing work. So, you know, there were bits in Siberian Couture as well from Close to the Edge that featured the steel. So I was just sort of tempting myself, just getting used to it and getting an ear for how to pitch the thing, because everything else I play is, besides a bit of fretless bass, but mainly everything I play is fretted, but of course the steel isn't. So it's part of the beauty of it, but it's also part of the technique to sound like you're in tune most of the time.
Well, there's a great version of Going for the One on the live album, and I've always said this, whenever Yes play that song, it's time to strap yourself in, because it's probably one of the hardest rocking songs Yes have ever done.
Yeah, it's a good rocker, that. I mean, you know, it's stomping and it's going along pretty good. It was a very imaginative time. You know, we were in Switzerland and there was this kind of breadth to the sound, the lake and sort of the beauty of everything. It's a very serene sort of album, really, Going for the One. But Going for the One as a song is, you know, pretty hard hitting. And, you know, it's something to reckon with.
It still is. And 43 years later, it's still an absolute diamond in the Yes set. So I hope you get to play it many years to come. So another technical question, this time for Billy Sherwood. Now I know that you play your own basses on tour with Yes, and you have done. But I also know that you do have a Rickenbacker bass. And a gentleman from Italy wants to know, are you ever going to play that live, or is that just a little bit too close?
Well, you know, it was totally off the radar when Chris died, because that was his instrument and it was a respect thing. And a lot of time has passed, so you never know. I may play one, I'm not sure. Every time I go to play one, because of just the nature of how I play, right where my hand rests, I have an issue with the thing that covers the pickup. So it's like I can't really do my muting technique. I can't do half the stuff that I do because of the nature of the ergonomics of the bass. So it's a little tricky to find something that works on it. There's probably going to be a song or two where I could pull it off because it works for that. But a lot of the time I find that it's not really for me. And it never has been, to be honest with you. I mean, this goes back to when I was a kid, 14, and I finally had enough dough to grab a real bass. I will go to the music store and I pull down the Rickenbacker because Chris plays it and this is what I'm coming to buy. And within about 5 minutes, I was so like heartbroken because it was like, this doesn't feel like my thing. And I just went another direction in my career with Tobias and Spector and Fender and, you know, Yamaha and all those kind of things. That said, I'm going to try to play a song or two on it, but we'll just have to see because it's such a foreign feel to me.
Can I jump in, Billy, and say to you, I hate that bit on a Rickenbacker bass too, you know, because I've got a 401. You just take it off. I mean, that thing, if you work it out, you can take it off, and you take it off, and man, is it a better bass. As you say, because you can get places where you want to play.
And the other thing for me, the tuning thing is, you know, I'm hypercritical about, and I find that the Ricky, it just starts slipping faster than any of my other basses. So if we're going to play a song that's 6 minutes long, by the time we're at the end, because I'm sweating and it's hot and the strings are getting warm, it's like going down as I go. So I don't know. There's several reasons why I don't. Let's put it that way.
It's a bit of a beast as a guitar, and of course Chris played it throughout his career. He did play other basses, but
that was Chris's thing. And Lord knows though, my man would come down on that E string, as Steve and Jeff, I'm sure, and Alan can attest, John. In certain things, and that would go bow back to pitch. So pitch wasn't really. I'm not jumping around like that, so I'm left to just the pitch.
Well, I can remember standing on stage at a sound check in Manchester once when you did Machine Messiah, and I was only told afterwards by Jeff, you didn't want to stand there. That's like Chris's wall of death. Right. And it's like, you can literally see birds flying across and dropping dead. I mean, it's one of them. I mean, it was an amazing sound, but he played that bass in '64, so he probably knew it inside out.
The funny thing is for me is that I always modeled my tone after Chris. So my tone got dialed into his world. So that's where it comes together. And the instrument itself really becomes a tool for the ergonomics to be able to do things. But the tone itself, it is, between all the stuff that I use with the line sixes and whatnot, I can get right there,
Okay, another technical question, because you guys have influenced so many people over the years. I know Steve did a kind of masterclass recently. I guess all of you probably could, really. A guy wants to know, Jeff, when you came into the band with Drama, the keyboard sound for Yes changed quite considerably, really. There was enough there, of course, to make it sound like Yes, but how did Steve, Alan, and of course, Steve, Alan, and Chris take to the new sounds coming in? Did they give you free rein, really?
Well, I think they, because Trevor and I come from a different background, if you like, and so I think that they, we were very, very. The Buggles was a very, very technical thing. We were mainly sort of working in the studio all the time, so we were experimenting with all the instruments, anything we could get out of anything. That was really how we applied ourselves to the Buggles stuff. So we were very kind of, studio creatures, if you like. And I think that Chris, Alan, and Steve really embraced this new sort of injection of technology that we were bringing to the equation. And in terms of keyboards, at that point there was a big change. Things were going, a lot of polyphonic instruments coming out. It wasn't just, the stuff I was describing earlier, the Hammond and the Mellotron and the Minimoog, which were very important. But, I'd got into polysynths, Prophets, into the Fairlight, which was a revolutionary instrument at the time. And I think that the guys really got off on this idea because it took Yes into a new generation, because at the time, after the Tormato album, and they'd had, the experience in Paris, which was, didn't end too well for the guys. I think that we were, in some ways, a bit of a breath of fresh air, and I think the other guys could see that Yes could go on into the new decade and do something different, and I think that was really how it all worked with Drama, and I think that it still stands the test of time as not a turning point in Yes's career, but a move into another chapter.
And of course, Tempest Fugit is on the live album, and we can hear those sounds, which are still very prevalent now. And of course, Tempest Fugit has become a bit of a warhorse for Yes now, hasn't it?
Well, I think that it's amazing. When I listen to it now, the tempo is absolutely furious. Where there's no stopping. It just keeps going and going. And I think that at that time, all of us were very keen to prove that we could do something, adventurous and pioneering with Yes. And I think that, Tempest Fugit was one of the tracks that we really pushed the boat out, and Machine Messiah as well, but particularly Tempest Fugit, that we could show that we could all play, and we could all play fast and furious.
No drugs either.
That's true.
This is a band question, but I'm going to ask Alan, and I'm going to ask Steve about this. I'll ask Alan first. So many people ask this, and Laura Bell is one of the ones that I know is a huge Yes fan, follows you around America. She wants to know why there hasn't been any DVDs of the recent live albums, and is there likely to be one maybe next time you tour on the Relay tour?
Well, anything's possible. It's just it's the circumstances really demand what you do at the time. We'd love to have a catalog of DVD of everything, I'm sure. But I have no idea why we never did that. And we usually do, because I think through the band's lifespan, we've catalogued a lot of things live. And, maybe they can dig some old footage up, stick it out.
Yeah, but listen, here's another side of that answer, is that we didn't do it because we didn't film it because we were on a tour with like 3 or 4 other acts, so we couldn't really get a show and then film it and not film them, and the whole thing was too chaotic. But bear in mind that we are planning to do a DVD of the Relayer live show, obviously, because that is a golden opportunity, and that will create a lot of common sense to capture that show. So I mean, last year's show had Gates of Delirium, as I said earlier, but we kept it up our sleeve for the future live, but also for the future DVD. So I think it will be captured. But let's give some more time to Jon here. He hasn't
haven't heard much from Jon for a while.
Interrogate him.
Jon, I've got some questions for you. Have no fear. You've been in Yes now for 8 years, and you really, the role really fits you now. How do you feel looking back on the 8 years? And here we are with this live album. You're singing better than ever, and you're really sort of fronting the band in such a great way. How do you personally feel about it now, having got 8 years under your belt?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually my 9th year. I mean, I guess it's not really an active year. So yeah, 8 years. It just gets better and better, and I just love the music so much. It's really a simple answer. It's just that, I just put my heart into it, and I think just being passionate about it and caring enough about the music really gets me through.
I think that as well, the way you present yourself and present the band, it's a very sort of inclusive thing with the band. You are the front man, you're the singer of the band, but you are very much part of the band. And I think that's been missing for a little while over the years. And I think you're doing an incredible job of that. So you I know as a singer, it's always a balancing act everywhere you go when you perform live. And obviously in the studio, it's a lot easier because you're in sort of working things out together. But live, a lot of the focus is on you. I mean, has that been very easy for you? Because you're playing big audiences now.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a completely different perspective when you're on stage. I'm not taking it in like you might in the audience, thinking that, there's a certain emphasis on what I'm doing. I'm just all part of, what's happening together. But I'm glad that you picked up on that, and that you think that I'm, more involved than just being the singer, that there's other aspects to it. So I really appreciate that, Jon.
I don't know whether you remember this. I remember when I first met you on the first Cruise to the Edge, and I said, "You're the singer in Yes, make this your own." And I said that from day one. And I'm so happy to see that you have.
Well, thank you. It's a support like that definitely makes a difference. Absolutely.
I mean, you get great support. There's a lot of people really behind you, fronting the band. And a lot of people like what you've done on previous albums. Again, the Heaven and Earth album, some of the songs that you're involved with there, and I think, you were really thrown in at the deep end, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do you still find, is it still exciting for you to go out, even after 8-9 years, to go out and, after the intro music that was played, be it the Young Person's Guide or the Firebird Suite? I mean, there's that moment where you straight into it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to be kidding. I'm missing it like crazy here.
So I guess a live album then is as good as it gets for right now.
Yeah.
But it's got to be frustrating for all of you guys, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Don't get started.
It's tough. I think that we were all psyched up, and in our own ways, we were all kind of looking forward to the challenge of doing the Relayer album. earlier this year, and you know, circumstances dictated otherwise. But you know, hopefully we can make it all up again next year and the year after, and keep Yes alive and keep on going as long as we can.
Well, I've got one final question for Jon, and that final question is basically when you go on stage next time, you're going to be performing Relaya. Now, you've had a taste of it with the Gates of Delirium. How do you feel about the next tour? Because I think it's going to be intense, not just for the band, but also for the fans as well. And I know the fans are really desperate to hear this album live. So how do you feel about it, Jon, going through that album? It's a toughie.
It is, but I just love the album so much. And I've been fortunate enough through the years to do, you know, all the 70s material with the exception of, you know, like Tormato, for example. But that's been a huge missing piece for me. And so yeah, it was a real downer not being able to go out and do it. But I just hope and pray we'll have our chance.
Well, you did sing Onward on this tour as well, which is on the album, which is from Tormato, of course, which is a lovely song of Chris's.
Yeah, yeah, and Madrigal, Steve and Billy and I have gone out and done a, you know, version of that for maybe 3 years now running. Yeah, but there's so much. I hope we do Tormato, guys. Hey, arriving future times. What do you say?
I'm there.
Yeah, Silent Wings of Freedom gets asked for a lot on the boards. I know that.
Well, in fact, actually, we're going to. Was that going to be on this tour, guys? Were we going to do that this last year?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a secret, though. We mustn't tell everybody.
No, Steve's
I mean,
right.
no. I mean, no.
Yeah. You've got to keep some secrets. Steve's absolutely right. The thing about Steve is Steve's the gatekeeper, and people think it's me, but actually I like going to a concert. Okay, I know you're going to do Relaya, but I have no idea what you're going to do for the rest of the night. So that's, for me, is part of the excitement of going to a gig. So yeah, keep the lid on it, guys. Okay. It's been great talking to all of you today, and this is a first for me, being involved in the launch of a live album. I think it's the first for Yes as well. One of many firsts for the band. This is what we've been talking about. This is the brand new live album from Yes, The Royal Affair, live from Las Vegas. It's available on single disc. Yeah, and it's available on double vinyl in a tri-fold out sleeve. Just beautiful. To give its correct term. It's beautiful. It's an artifact in itself these days. And I know vinyl is becoming very, very important again. Steve, Alan, Jeff, Jon and Billy, thank you so much. Yes, live in the record store racks once more, and hopefully on tour next year. It's been great to talk to you today. Thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you, Don.